Hello everybody and welcome back to a brand new video. So in this episode of 5-Minute Java, I'll be going over methods. Methods are a very important part of Java, and they can be thought of as like functions in other languages. So yeah, quickly before the video starts, just a reminder to subscribe for more Java and programming content. Anyway, let's get started. To create a method in Java, the first thing you need to do is declare whether the method is public, private, or protected. Public means it can be accessed anywhere. Private means it can only be accessed within this class, and protected means it can only be accessed within this package. So for this example, I'm going to create a public method. Generally, most of the methods are public. I create private methods if they're like a helper method, meaning the method's only purpose is to help a more major method. And I haven't usually used protected methods, but they're definitely still useful. So for this example, like I said, I'm going to do public. And then you have to say what the return type of the method is. So this can be any type. So it can be string, int, boolean, double, or it can even be like a certain class that you've already created. If you want to return an object of that class, that's also possible. In this case, I'm going to say string. And if you don't want to return anything from the method, you can say void. Void means it just doesn't have to return anything. But you need to declare what it is. So you can't say string and then return an integer. It has to return a string if you say string. Or if you say void, it can't return anything. And after saying the type, you need to say what the name of the method is. So in this case, I'll just say duplicate word, because that's what I'm going to do with this method. And then you need to take in a parameter, or just leave this blank. So you have to create parentheses no matter what, but inside the parentheses, you can either leave them blank, or if you need something to make your method work, you need something to be passed in, a parameter, then you declare that here. So in this case, I'm going to take a string word as my parameter. That means in order to call this method, you need to give a string word within parentheses that will then go into this method. After doing that, you open a bracket and then click enter to create the second bracket on the bottom. And you can see here I have an error, and that's because I don't have my return statement yet. So I'm just going to return my word, because that's just what the quick fix is. But unless you have a return statement, this will have an error. So I'm just going to make a simple method. It's just word equals word plus word. So I'm just adding the string to itself. And I'll just return that again. So it's not the most useful method, but the point is just how I created the rest of it. And now if I want to run that method, I go to my main method and I call it. So I can say duplicate word, and then I have to put in the parameter. So my parameter for this one will be hello, and then I put a semicolon. And you can see I have an error here after doing that. And that's because duplicate word is not static. So the main method is always static. So if you want to use something in the static main method, you need to make the method static as well. If not, you don't have to make it static. But in this case, I do have to. And static means it doesn't change for each object. So if you're creating a method where it creates an object and a certain method or variable changes for each object, then it has to be not static. But in this case, it's not changing for each object because I'm not creating any objects. So this is going to be static. Now, when I run this, you can see that nothing is returned because I'm just calling the method, because this returns a string. And that's very important to remember, is that if you're returning a string, it's not going to print it out. If I wanted to actually print this out, I would have to make this void, and then I would have to do system.out.println word, because just simply returning a string doesn't count as printing it. So now if I were to run this, you can see that it duplicates the word like what I wanted. So I'll just do another quick example. So I'll do a public static, because I'm going to run it in the main method. I need to make it static. Public static int, and then I'll say times 2 and int I, and I will just return I times 2. And you can see now that I've put the return statement, there's no more error here. So if I still want to print this, but I don't want it to be a void, what I can do is I can say system.out.println in my main method, and then I can say times 2 and then the method. So this is basically the same thing as me saying system.out.println and then a number in here, just any integer, let's say 5. It's the same thing here, but because this is considered as an integer, because I'm returning an integer from this times 2 of 4, that's returning an integer, so I'm just printing out an integer. It's basically, in the program's eyes, the same thing as what I'm doing right here. So if I were to comment this out, because I don't want to actually print that, now I should get hello, hello, and then 8. There you go. You can see I have 4 and multiplied by 2, and it printed out the 8. So yeah, that's just a quick introduction to methods in Java. I hope you found this video helpful, If you did, make sure to subscribe for more Java and programming content. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.